You ever notice how the ones who scream the loudest, bark the fiercest, and show off their strength the most are the ones who shatter at the first sign of real trouble? It's like they're trying to convince the world they're unbreakable because they're terrified of being seen for what they really are: fragile, weak, scared. They put on this grand show thinking that noise equals power, but it doesn't. It's just noise, empty, hollow, desperate noise. It's the quiet ones you should fear, the ones who don't need to prove a damn thing. You see, real strength doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to make a scene. It just exists, calm, steady, unbothered. You know why? Because strength is proven in silence, in restraint. While the loudmouths waste their breath, real power just waits, observes, plans. And when it moves, it's precise, efficient, lethal. People who shout from the rooftops begging for attention, they're like firecrackers, bright, loud, and gone in a second. But the real threat? That's the bomb ticking quietly in the dark. No warning, no flash, just devastation when it finally goes off. You think the one showing off his muscles is the one who's got it figured out? Nah. It's the one sitting in the corner, sizing everything up, calculating every possible move. Life isn't a circus, kid. You don't get points for being the clown, making noise and trying to impress the crowd. The world respects the ones who don't bend, the ones who take their hits in silence and keep moving forward without a word. Pain doesn't need to be announced. Real pain, the kind that shapes you, that breaks you down and forces you to rebuild. It's carried in silence. It's worn like armor, not paraded like some pity trophy. You ever see a lion roar just to prove it's strong? Nah, it's too busy hunting, too busy surviving. The ones who roar without reason are trying to hide their fear. They're terrified that someone's gonna see through their act, see them for the scared little rats they really are. They scream because silence is too loud for them. It forces them to face themselves. Let me tell you something about the world. It's ruthless. It's unforgiving. And it doesn't give a damn about your noise. When the storm hits, the loud ones, they crumble. They can't handle the quiet, can't handle the dark. They're too used to their own chaos, but the quiet ones, they thrive. They've been through hell without making a sound. They've carried their demons without making a show of it. So stop trying to prove anything to anyone. Real power isn't about how many people notice you. It's about how many people remember you after you've walked away. It's about the impact you leave behind when the noise dies down. Be like the wolf, silent, watchful, waiting. When it strikes, it doesn't bark. It just sinks its teeth in, ends it, and moves on. No show, no bragging. Just pure, lethal intent. People will always try to convince you they're strong by being louder than you. Let them. Let them waste their breath. You keep moving in silence. Keep working on yourself without needing an audience. Let your success make the noise. The strongest ones are always the most underestimated because they don't flaunt their strength. They just survive. Remember this. When someone tries to make you feel small by being loud, they're just scared you'll see through them. They're trying to drown out their own insecurities by making you doubt yours. Don't fall for it. The world is full of empty voices trying to sound important. You don't need to be one of them. Be the one who listens, the one who watches, the one who knows when to strike and when to hold back. Let them underestimate you. Let them think they've won because you didn't respond to their noise. In the end, actions speak louder than their desperate, hollow words. You know what's funny? They never see it coming when the quiet one finally snaps. They think their noise protected them, kept them safe. But silence, real silence, it's deadly. It waits. It plans. It doesn't care about their bravado or their barking. It just acts. Swift, unforgiving, final. Those who make the most noise, they're just scared of being forgotten. Scared that once the shouting stops, no one will remember their name. Real power doesn't fear being forgotten because it knows that true impact doesn't need to be announced. It's felt, deep, lasting, permanent. So next time someone tries to make you feel small with their noise, just smile. You know better. You know that in the end, it's the quiet, the patient, the unassuming who walk away victorious. Let them shout. You'll be the one still standing when the dust settles. You know what's truly pathetic? The way they cling to their noise like it's armor, like it somehow protects them from reality. They make a scene, stomp their feet, and act like the world owes them something just because they're loud enough to drown out reason. But here's the truth. The world doesn't care how loud you are. When the silence creeps in, when the spotlight fades, they're left alone with their fears. They're terrified of silence because it forces them to listen to their own doubts. That's why they never shut up. They think that if they keep talking, keep bragging, keep shoving their so-called strength in everyone's face, they'll convince themselves it's real. But real strength doesn't need convincing. It doesn't need an audience. It just is. You've got to understand one thing. The more noise they make, the weaker they are. They think that by being the loudest in the room, they're the toughest. But you've seen it, haven't you? When life actually tests them, they collapse. They panic. They can't handle the quiet because it's too honest. It's like a mirror that shows them who they really are. Scared, insecure, pretending. Real power is silent. It doesn't need validation. It doesn't need to be recognized to know it exists. Think of a shadow creeping in the dark. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to scream to be feared. It just moves, unnoticed, unchallenged, until it's too late. That's real strength. It's patient. It's quiet. It's relentless. But they don't get it. They never will. They think you're weak because you don't respond, because you don't match their noise with noise of your own. They mistake your silence for submission. Fools. They don't know that you're calculating thinking 10 steps ahead while they're stuck on their first move. They're playing checkers while you're mastering chess. And when you finally move, it's too late for them. They won't even see it coming. That's the beauty of being underestimated. They don't prepare for you. They don't consider you a threat. And then, when the storm hits, they're the ones begging for mercy, choking on their own pride. You're just doing what you always do, surviving, pushing through without needing to scream about it. They'll try to provoke you. They'll try to push your buttons just to get a reaction because that's how they measure their worth, through how many people they can manipulate. Don't give them the satisfaction. Stay quiet. Stay focused. They're expecting you to break, to fight back like they do. Prove them wrong by not reacting at all. That's how you win. That's how you make them question their own strength. The loud ones, they're used to breaking people with their noise. When they can't break you, it scares them. It eats them alive, knowing you don't flinch, don't react, don't care. That's your power, your indifference to their chaos. Let them self-destruct trying to prove something to the world. You keep your focus. You keep your strength to yourself. People will always think they've got you figured out when you're quiet. They'll think you're weak, soft, vulnerable. They'll mistake your silence for weakness. That's their mistake. Let them think you're nothing. Let them walk all over you if they must. When the time comes, when it really matters, you'll show them what quiet strength looks like. And when you finally unleash it, don't hold back. Don't explain. Don't justify. Just act. Make them understand that noise doesn't win wars. Strategy does. Resilience does. And while they've been busy entertaining the crowd, you've been building, growing, getting ready. You've been preparing for the real battle, not the show. They think they're wolves because they howl the loudest. But real wolves don't howl for attention. They hunt in silence. They don't need to boast, because their presence alone sends a shiver down the spine. The real threat doesn't have to announce itself. It just exists, and that's enough. So don't worry about being the loudest. Don't worry about proving anything to anyone. Your silence will drive them crazy, because it's the one thing they can't control. They can't manipulate it, can't twist it, can't use it against you. It's your weapon, your armor. And when the time is right, it becomes your vengeance. Let them make all the noise they want. Let them think they've won just because you didn't shout back. The truth is, you've been winning all along by not giving them what they crave. your reaction. They'll never understand that the most powerful force in the room isn't the one screaming for attention. It's the one sitting in the shadows, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to strike. They'll never see it coming because they're too busy hearing themselves talk. They'll drown in their own noise while you stay calm, composed, and ready. And when you finally act, it'll be like thunder after the longest silence. Shocking, devastating, undeniable. That's the difference between you and them. You don't need noise to prove your strength. You let your actions do the talking. And when that day comes, they'll realize just how foolish they were to underestimate the quiet one. Let them live in their fantasy of power. You'll live in reality, harsh, unforgiving, and ruthless. They'll keep shouting, and you'll keep waiting. And when it's time to move, you'll remind them why silence is more terrifying than any noise they could ever make. You know, I've seen it over and over. People barking like mad dogs, trying to convince the world there's something fierce. They make threats. They scream their insecurities into the air, hoping someone will buy the lie they're selling. But here's the real kicker. The ones who shout the most are usually the first to crumble when reality slaps them in the face. They build this illusion of being untouchable, but it's just paper thin bravado. You've got to learn to spot them. The noisemakers, the attention addicts, the ones who desperately need to be seen as powerful. It's like they're trying to drown out the silence because it scares them to death. The silence reminds them that they're not as important as they think, that all that shouting doesn't make them strong. It just makes them loud. And loud doesn't mean fearless. It doesn't mean tough. It just means they're scared that if they shut up for even a second, someone will see through the cracks. And you know what? That's exactly what you do. See through the cracks. You don't buy into their performance. You don't let their noise make you doubt yourself. Because deep down, you know that strength isn't something you scream about. It's something you carry without needing applause. It's not about showing off. It's about knowing who you are when no one's watching. I've watched those loudmouths. They're like glass. One hit, and they shatter. They don't know how to survive when no one's around to feed their ego. They crumble in solitude because they've never learned to face themselves. They hide behind their noise. But when the world goes quiet, when the crowd leaves, they're left with nothing but the echo of their own weakness. You don't need that. You don't need a crowd to feel powerful. You don't need validation from people who don't even know themselves. Your strength comes from within, from the hell you've survived, from the battles you fought without making a scene. You learn to carry your pain like a badge of honor, not a trophy to wave around. You're not afraid of the quiet because it's where you found yourself. People hate that. They hate seeing someone who doesn't need to shout to be noticed. It makes them insecure. It makes them question their own worth. So they'll try to drag you into their chaos, force you to react, just so they feel relevant. But you stay calm. You don't need their game. You don't need to prove anything because you've got nothing to prove. Let them call you weak. Let them laugh because you didn't respond with the same fury. Let them think they've got the upper hand just because they were louder. You'll see how fast their confidence crumbles when life gets real. When the storm hits and they're left screaming at the wind, you'll be the one standing, unaffected, unbroken. Because that's what they don't get. Noise doesn't make you resilient. Screaming doesn't make you stronger. It just makes you desperate to be seen. Real power doesn't beg for recognition. It's quiet. It's steady. It doesn't rush. It waits. And when it moves, it's like a predator. Calculated, relentless, unforgiving. You have to become that. Stop worrying about what they think. Stop letting their noise rattle you. Let them bark while you prepare. Let them think they've got you cornered just because you didn't fight back on their terms. They'll never see it coming when you finally decide to act. They'll be too busy soaking in their own false sense of victory, completely unaware that they've been playing into your hands the whole time. You know, people like that. They can't handle real confrontation. They're bullies, loud and intimidating from a distance. But up close, they're just scared kids trying to act tough. You confront them without matching their energy, and they lose it. They can't comprehend someone who doesn't play their game, and that's your advantage. You don't play their game, you play yours. Silence is a weapon they don't know how to fight against. It's unnerving because it forces them to face the reality they've been avoiding. When they don't get the reaction they want, they get frustrated. They lash out harder, make even more noise. And in the process, they reveal their own insecurity. You just keep watching, waiting, knowing that their downfall is inevitable. When the time is right, you'll move. Not with noise, not with grand gestures, but with precision, with purpose. And when they finally understand what real strength looks like, it'll be too late for them to do anything about it. They'll be caught off guard, stunned that the one they thought was weak was the one who never broke. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your silence. You don't have to justify your strength. Let them laugh. Let them call you passive. One day, when they're on their knees, begging for mercy from the chaos they created, they'll realize you were never weak. You were just smart enough not to waste your energy on pointless noise. They'll remember you then. They'll remember the one who didn't flinch, didn't break, didn't need to scream to be heard. You'll be the one they fear when they finally realize that the quiet ones are the real threat. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of potential, full of power. And when it's unleashed, it leaves no room for doubt. So stay quiet, stay calm, stay focused. Let them burn themselves out while you prepare. When the dust settles, you'll still be standing, stronger for having kept your composure while they fell apart. That's how you win. That's how you outlast the noise, by refusing to become part of it. They'll never understand how you did it. They'll look at you, still standing while they've exhausted themselves into nothing, and wonder why their noise didn't crush you. But you know, you always knew. The ones who make the most noise are often the weakest. And the quiet ones, they're the ones who survive. They're so used to being loud that they forget what it means to actually fight. See, when you scream all the time, people stop listening. Your words become just that. Noise. Empty. Hollow. You're like a broken record repeating the same threats and the same nonsense, hoping it'll stick. But it never does. Because once someone sees through you, that noise becomes nothing but a desperate plea for relevance. You know who really gets remembered? The ones who don't waste their breath. The ones who don't broadcast their every move. Silence has a way of making people uneasy. It forces them to fill in the blanks themselves. And that's terrifying for the weak. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know what you're planning. And that unknown, it eats them alive. They'll push you, prod you, try to make you lash out because it's the only way they know how to control people. They want you to snap. They want you to lose your cool so they can point and say, "See? I told you they're nothing." Don't give them that. Let them wear themselves out, shouting into the void while you keep your focus. And when you finally do make your move, and believe me, you will, it's not going to be some flashy, dramatic scene. No, it's going to be surgical, clean, over before they even know what hit them. That's how real strength works. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't beg for attention. It just waits, patient and unshakable, until it's time to act. They'll never see it coming because they're too busy puffing themselves up, convincing the world they're something they're not. That's the problem with noise. It distracts even the one making it. They're too busy trying to look strong that they forget to actually be strong. And when the silence hits them like a cold, hard slap, they don't know what to do. You ever seen a storm come in without warning? No thunder, no howling wind, just a sudden, fierce downpour that drowns everything in its path. That's how you need to be. Unexpected, relentless, no warning, no buildup, just results. By the time they realize they underestimated you, it'll be too late. You'll be standing there, calm and composed, while they scramble to pick up the pieces of their broken ego. You have to understand, people like that, they're addicted to the illusion of power. They think that if they can scare enough people, they've won. But intimidation isn't strength. It's a bluff. It's a tactic to keep others from realizing how weak they truly are. Real power doesn't need to intimidate. It doesn't need to be seen. It's there, always, waiting for the right moment. The loudest ones, they're like a burning firework, bright for a moment, explosive, and then just smoke and ash. They can't sustain their own energy because it's all show. They burn out fast. You're like a slow, steady ember. You don't need to dazzle anyone because you know you'll outlast them. When their fire dies out, you'll still be there, smoldering, unbroken. You've got to train yourself to resist the urge to prove anything to anyone. Stop explaining yourself. Stop trying to make them see your worth. They're not your judges. They don't get to decide what you're capable of. Let them think you're weak. Let them think they've won. The real victory comes when they realize they were never in the same league as you. People fear what they don't understand, and they don't understand silence. They think it's weakness. They think it's submission. They don't get that silence is a choice, a weapon. You could shout back, but you don't. You could fight their way, but you choose not to, because you're not like them. You're not a fool who thinks making a scene means making an impact. The world doesn't respect noise. It respects resilience. It respects those who can take the hits without flinching, who don't need to broadcast their pain to feel validated, the ones who get back up without needing applause. That's you. You don't owe anyone your story. You don't owe them your suffering. Let them assume you're weak. It'll make your triumph all the sweeter. Because one day, when the noise dies down and they're left with nothing but their own empty echoes, they'll look around and realize you're still standing, still moving, still growing, and that silence, it'll crush them. Because they'll know that while they were busy showing off, you were becoming unbreakable. People who talk too much, they're just hoping someone will believe their lies. They think that if they shout long enough, loud enough, their weaknesses will be forgotten. But life doesn't work that way. Life remembers. And when it finally calls their bluff, they'll be left stuttering, trying to justify why they couldn't live up to their own hype. You don't need that burden. You don't need to live for anyone else's expectations. You know your own worth, and that's enough. You know that strength doesn't need to be proven every minute of every day. It just is. It's built in silence, in struggle, without an audience. And when it finally shows itself, it's undeniable. So keep quiet, keep patient. Let them scream while you work. Let them boast while you build. Your time will come, and when it does, it'll be like a shadow consuming the light, swift, unyielding, final. You'll leave them questioning everything they thought they knew about power, about strength, about survival. And when they finally realize that all their noise never made them strong, it'll be too late. You'll be long gone, moving forward while they're stuck, wondering why they couldn't break you. They'll never understand that the quiet ones, the ones who don't need to be seen, are the ones who last. That's your legacy. That's your power. The strength to endure without needing anyone's validation. The ability to move in silence and still make an impact. Let them think you're weak. Let them think they've won. When they finally face the truth, it'll hit them harder than any noise ever could. You're not here to impress anyone. You're not here to be seen. You're here to survive, to thrive, to overcome without needing anyone's permission. That's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you powerful. They'll never see it coming because they're too blinded by their own noise. And when you finally show them what real strength looks like, they'll be too stunned to even scream. You don't need to prove you're strong. Just be it. In silence, in patience, in relentless, unforgiving persistence. Let them shout. You'll still be here when the noise fades. Unshaken, unbreakable, unstoppable. And when the dust finally settles, they'll be standing there, looking around, trying to figure out what went wrong. They'll be confused, angry even, because in their minds, they had it all figured out. They thought being the loudest meant being the strongest. They thought noise was power. And when reality hits, it's going to hit hard. Because all that noise, it didn't prepare them for the real fight. It didn't teach them resilience. It didn't make them unbreakable. You know why they don't get it? Because they've never been forced to be quiet. They've never faced their demons without an audience. They've never been alone with their failures, with their insecurities. They've always been able to drown it out with their screaming, their bravado, their pathetic little show. They think that if they just keep talking, keep pushing people around, it'll somehow make them more. But it doesn't. It just makes them more pathetic. And when you don't give them what they want, that reaction, that validation of their noise, it drives them crazy. They don't know how to handle it because it's foreign to them. They're used to people snapping back, matching their volume, getting into that same chaotic rhythm. But you just stand there, calm, collected, eyes steady like a loaded gun, and they feel it. They feel that unsettling presence, that power that doesn't need to scream. You're like a shadow moving through their chaos, unseen, unaffected, unbroken, and that scares them. It shakes them to their core because it makes them question themselves. It makes them wonder if they've been wrong all along, that maybe, just maybe, their noise isn't strength. Maybe they're the weak ones and they can't handle that thought. So they'll double down. They'll get even louder, even more desperate, because they need to prove to themselves that they're strong. It's not about you. It never was. It's about them trying to convince their own reflection that they're worth something. They think that if they dominate the room, they'll silence their own fears. But fears don't work that way. You can't shout them into submission. Your silence, on the other hand, speaks volumes. It tells them that you're not here to play their game. You're not here to waste your energy on their circus. You're focused, determined, and that's something they'll never understand. They think you're soft because you don't retaliate the way they do. They think you're weak because you don't react like a puppet on their strings. But real power doesn't dance to anyone's tune. It doesn't react to provocation. It just exists quietly, like a storm gathering in the distance. You ever notice how the real disasters don't announce themselves? They just happen. Swift, unforgiving, destructive. One moment everything's fine, and the next, the whole world is upside down. That's how you hit when the time comes. No warning, no grand speech, just action. They'll hate you for it. Not because you hurt them, but because you proved them wrong. You'll make them see that all their noise was just a smokescreen, hiding their own cowardice. They'll be angry, not because you fought back, but because you didn't play the game their way. They'll be furious because your silence made them question their own worth. And that's the real power you hold. The ability to exist without needing to be seen. The ability to plan without needing to announce it. The ability to strike without warning. They've spent their whole lives crafting this loud, obnoxious persona, thinking it would make them invincible. But when they see you, calm and steady, it unravels everything they've built. You ever see someone try to laugh off their own humiliation? Try to pretend like they're not bothered when deep down they're crumbling? That's what happens when they realize they never broke you. That you stayed solid, kept your ground, didn't flinch. It messes with their heads because it's the exact opposite of what they expected. They thought you'd react like everyone else, shouting, fighting, proving yourself. But you didn't. You just kept moving forward, unaffected by their noise. And that eats at them. It makes them feel insignificant, like all their effort to dominate the room meant nothing, because it didn't. You can't dominate someone who doesn't play your game. You can't break someone who doesn't bend. That's your strength. The ability to be unmoved by their chaos. So let them keep talking. Let them keep shouting their insecurities to the world. One day, when they're alone, when there's no one left to impress, they'll think about you. They'll wonder why you didn't break. They'll wonder why their noise didn't crush you. And it'll dawn on them. They were never strong. They were just loud. And that silence that they feared, it's going to haunt them. Because they'll know that while they wasted their energy proving something to the world, you were busy becoming something they couldn't touch. Unbreakable. Unshakable. A force that doesn't need validation to exist. And when they finally realize it, that they were the weak ones all along, it'll be too late. You'll be far ahead, stronger than ever, while they're stuck picking up the pieces of their broken pride. Let them make all the noise they want. You'll be the one still standing when the echoes fade. That's your legacy. Strength that doesn't need to be seen to be real. Power that doesn't need to be shouted to be felt. You don't need their approval. You don't need their recognition. You just need to keep moving. Keep building. Keep thriving in the silence they fear. Because when it's all said and done, when the loud ones are nothing but memories of failed bravado, you'll still be here, still calm, still focused, still winning. And that's the real joke, isn't it? That the ones who made the most noise were always the weakest. And you were the real threat all along. Silent, steady, unstoppable.